All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Water Industry Careers and Guest Panel. We are so excited to have all of you join us today, where we are going to get an in-depth look at different careers in the water industry and hear firsthand insight from four amazing water industry professionals. The information you will receive today is so valuable in entering the water industry, especially considering that one-third of the water industry workforce will be eligible to retire within 10 years. And even then, through a pandemic, through a zombie attack, or through an earthquake, we still need water to live and survive. And that means we need a lot of workers to support that. Please note that students from the West Basin or WRD service area are eligible for a thank you package that will be mailed to your home, as well as be entered in an opportunity drawing for a TV, Amazon Fire tablets, and gift cards. And to enter, you just have to complete the survey at the end of this panel and we will notify you of next steps. So before we get started, I would like to introduce you all to the faces behind this program. My name is Janelle and I'm the Education Coordinator for West Basin Municipal Water District. And I help oversee all of our school-age education programs, such as water recycling facility tours, engineering programs, and this panel that you're all attending today. And I'll hand it off to my counterpart, Monica, to introduce herself also.
Thank you, Janelle. Good morning. My name is Monica Sider, and I am a Senior Public Affairs Representative for the Water Replenishment District. I oversee the education program, and that includes tours of our Albert Robles Center for Water Recycling and Environmental Learning, facility, water conservation programs, and partnering with water agencies like West Basin to bring you the webinar you are about to be a part of. Back to you, Janelle.
Excellent. Thank you, Monica. So let's get on to our agenda. So we will first go over webinar logistics, give you an overview about both of our agencies, and take a look at a number of water industry careers available to you. You can ask questions at any point during this webinar, and we will have our panel address those questions live for the majority of our panel. We will then conclude with some specific ways you can join the water industry, such as through professional organizations, internships, scholarships, and local colleges. We plan to complete this panel at exactly 11 a.m. this morning, so let's get started on webinar logistics. Now, I'm sure most of you are Zoom experts by now, but I'll quickly go over the functions we have today. As an attendee, you will not be able to share your camera or use your microphone. And at the bottom of your Zoom viewer, you should have two options, a Q&A and a chat. Please note that we will not be using the raise hand function today. Please use the Q&A to identify and send questions for any of our panelists right over here. And you can use the chat function to communicate anything else to our event organizers. And we do have a staff member monitoring that today. And to request webinar slides and a recording of this event, please send an email to the event coordinators, either myself or Monica, and we will be more than happy to help you out with that. And with Zoom training out of the way, let's meet our West Basin panelists. We have Uzi Daniel, our operations manager, and Jason Kung, an operations analyst. We'll have them both introduce themselves and their background, starting first with Uzi and then Jason. So go ahead, Uzi.
Thank you, Janelle, and good morning, everybody. My name is Uzi Daniel, and I'm the operations manager at West Basin Municipal Water District. I will tell you my original background. I would say the passion started already in my childhood, and that is when I was very interested in animals, wild issues, and I thought, what can I go to college to study and help the environment? So my degrees are in environmental science, and the water industry is a perfect place to utilize those skills. I started, like many people, at an entry-level position, helping some amazing mentors to me work on programs to make sure we had safe water, water quality, and that we also had environmental programs that protected the environment. Over the years at West Basin, that has grown, and in water treatment, it is very important, especially with recycled water, that we're aware of all these issues so that we can have good water quality to provide to you and also to meet all the tough regulations we need to keep our facilities operating. I'm going to be very happy to be a part of this today and answer any questions I can. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jason. I work as an operations analyst at West Basin Municipal Water District. I started off here as an intern in the IT department during college. And after I earned my degree in mechanical engineering, I switched over to the operations department, where we focus on the distribution of recycled water and also the treatment of water. For distribution, it's how we can transport water, to the parks and cities for irrigation and making sure that it's handled safely. For treatment, I've been able to work on a groundwater desalting plant in Torrance, where we take water from underground, filter it through reverse osmosis, and clean up the groundwater basin in the process. It continues to be an amazing experience, learning more every day about this industry. Thank you all for having me, and it's great to be here.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Uzi and Jason. We're so excited to have you here today. And as a reminder, you can send in questions about Uzi or Jason's career in water operations, treatment, and distribution at any time through that Q&A button that I showed you earlier today. And let's meet our Water Replenishment District panelists. Joining us today are Moises Santillan, an assistant hydrogeologist, and Josie Janeskins, a GIS analyst. So we'll have them both introduce themselves and their background, starting first with Moises and then followed by Josie.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Moises Santillan, and as mentioned, I work as an assistant hydrogeologist with the Water Replenishment District. A little bit about my path to where I'm at today. I graduated from Cal State Long Beach with a degree in geology. I spent about my first year and a half working in the private sector as a consultant on groundwater and soil remediation projects. So that was my first introduction into the water industry. I've now been with WRD for just under 3 years, and my main role is as a field hydrogeologist, collecting groundwater elevation and groundwater quality data for various projects, but our main one being the Regional Groundwater Monitoring Program. The part of the program that I'm in charge of is the water level measurement and the deployment and maintenance of data logger, telemetry, and transducer devices, and our ever-growing well network that at this point has encompassed well over 300 wells at nearly 80 locations in our service area. So I do spend about 60%, sometimes up to 80% of my time doing field work. Now, when I'm not in the field, I work on quote unquote office tasks. I maintain our water elevation and water quality database. I update hydrographs, which are historical water level trends for each well. I work with our technology specialists to make sure the data is correct and accurate before they make it go live and available to our public and our pumping community. Maintain an inventory of our hydrogeologic equipment, make sure all the needs of our various projects are met. And lastly, I provide technical support to the remainder of our hydrogeology staff. And this can vary from data analysis, data review, tabulation, report writing, reviews, edits, occasionally using a software program, editing hydrogeologic logs, flow patterns, other sorts of useful information. So as a field scientist, I definitely get the best of both worlds, time outdoors doing data collection and time indoors doing analysis and interpretation. Excited to be here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josie Janeskins, and I'm a GIS analyst for the Water Replenishment District. GIS is an acronym for Geographic Information Systems, and this is a software program used for gathering, managing, and analyzing many types of spatially related data. The data is used to visualize information via maps and 3D scenes that help us understand and solve complex problems. I work primarily with the hydrogeology departments, hydrogeology, water resources, water master, engineering, and external affairs departments. That's actually almost all the departments in the agency. And I perform analysis on water level and water quality data and prepare static, meaning like paper or PDF maps, and interactive maps for reports and presentations. And what I like most about GIS is the variety of things that I get to do. I do spend most of my time in front of a computer, but I get to be a little bit creative when I'm making maps. I get to do analysis, and I get to work with a lot of different people and learn a lot of really interesting things about the water industry. And that's it for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Moises and Josie. And again, if you have any questions about hydrogeology or geography, GIS, please send them in through your Q&A button. And again, we have these 4 water industry experts available to answer any of your questions about the water industry and finding a job. And so I encourage you all to take advantage of their time and send in your questions at any point during this webinar. So let's get into some background information about West Basin. West Basin Municipal Water District is a public wholesale water agency that accomplishes its mission of providing a safe and reliable supply of high quality water to the communities we serve by exploring a variety of projects. These projects include groundwater protection, a comprehensive recycled water and education program, and identifying new and reliable sources of water to serve to our communities. Here is a current map of West Basin's service area, which includes 5 divisions and covers a large portion of the South Bay and LA area. We serve 17 cities and unincorporated areas of LA County, and West Basin is governed by an elected 5-member board of directors. Each director represents a specific set of cities in our service area and is your liaison to listen to any concerns or thoughts that you might have about water. And I'll hand it off to Monica to give us an introduction about the Water Replenishment District.
Thank you, Janelle. The Water Replenishment District is the largest groundwater agency in the state of California, managing and protecting local groundwater resources for over 4 million residents. WRD is also governed by an elected 5-member board of directors who work very hard to ensure that a reliable supply of high-quality groundwater is available through the use of recycled water and storm capture. WRD's service area covers 43 cities in the 420 square mile region of the southern Los Angeles County. WRD protects the basins through artificial groundwater replenishment, ensuring that aquifers maintain healthy levels by routinely monitoring the groundwater to ensure the quality meets all health standards. Today, you will get to speak with an operations analyst, an operations manager, a GIS analyst, and a hydrogeologist. But as you can see from the list on your screen, there are a variety of jobs available, all that require various levels of experience and education. Note that there are more than just technical positions, but career paths that can cater to a variety of skills and talents. Also, there are a lot of careers in the water industry opening up in the next 5 to 10 years due to a large number of people retiring. A quick Google search will certainly give you more information on what could possibly be your future career. And if you are interested in what Janelle and I do, we create programs like this webinar and work closely with educators and other agencies to better promote the importance of water. Now let's discuss careers. A water resources engineer's duties involve the design of new systems and equipment that help manage human water resources. Some of the areas water resources engineers touch on are water treatment facilities, underground wells, and natural springs. The pay range for this particular type of engineering job is between $82,000 to $167,000 a year. This also depends on experience in the field and education. In order to get a job as a water resources engineer, you would need a minimum of a Bachelor of Science degree in engineering. While it is not a requirement, earning a professional engineering license is a valuable step for water resources engineers. It often leads to higher earning potential, career advancement, and wider responsibility. Now, if you possess strong IT skills, enjoy manipulating complex databases, are highly detail-oriented, are a clean writer and thoughtful communicator, then looking into becoming a GIS analyst is for you. Their primary duties include analyzing spatial data through mapping software and designing digital maps with geographic data and various other data sets. The starting salary for a GIS analyst can start at about $76,000 and can go up to $120,000 a year. Again, this is depending on experience and education level. To begin your career in this growing field, a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science, geography, surveying, engineering, or related field is recommended. A hydrogeologist studies the location, movement, and quality of water formations that are below the surface of the earth. Their research is used for construction projects, aquifer protection, and for the safe disposal of hazardous waste, among other uses. If you enjoy being outdoors and not being confined to an office all day, then I highly recommend this career path. The minimum education level for this career is a Bachelor of Science degree in hydrogeology or related physical science field of study. The pay range for a hydrogeologist can begin at $77,000 and can go up to $175,000 a year. You can move up the salary schedule as you move from an assistant hydrogeologist to an associate hydrogeologist to a senior hydrogeologist, or even becoming the manager of hydrogeology. I'll switch it back off to you, Janelle.
The next job that we will go over is an operator whose duties include the maintenance and operation of water facilities, including for distribution, wastewater, or recycled water. The great thing about this job is that it only requires a high school degree and is always in demand. There are two different types of operator certification. A treatment certificate involves the operation of a drinking water facility, a wastewater facility, or a recycled water facility. They basically oversee high-level operations, including the chemical and physical treatment of our water resources. A distribution certificate involves the operation of the distribution infrastructure for our water resources, which is basically maintaining the underground pipes, pumps, motors, and machines that distribute water from facilities to our homes and places of work. There are 5 levels of operator certification with the higher pay and responsibilities as you go up. As long as you pass the level certification test, which is administered by the State Water Resources Control Board, you can start at a level 1 with a high school degree or a level 2 with a bachelor's degree. A lot of companies offer on-the-job training to help you grow and keep getting higher level certifications. The pay range does depend on your certification, but is higher in California. And please note that even though the pay range starts in the high 50s, this is for people who are likely already certified and have some experience. You can always start out with your high school degree and take advantage of on-the-job training to land yourself in the higher pay ranges. And the last job that we will go over today is a water resources analyst, which is a great job for students who like to look at data and come up with their own conclusions. Water resources analysts look at long-term trends of water resources, demand, and usage to make well-informed policy changes that help protect our water resources. Basically, they collect and interpret data to help make sure that people like you and me still have water in the future. The minimum education for this position is a bachelor's degree with pay range starting at $76,000 at a place like West Basin. For this position, a master's degree is preferred for that specialization in water industries. And again, we just took a closer look at just 5 of these water industry jobs, but there are dozens and dozens of careers available to you that can fit different skill sets and education levels. And even though we are focused on water, we still need artists, we still need people in human resources, and we still need finance people to operate and help distribute water to people in our service area. And let's get started with our panel. I'll first be asking a number of questions that participants have sent in before this webinar. Then I'll hand it off to Monica to ask our panel the questions that you just sent in today. I am seeing a number of questions coming in through the Q&A section. So thank you very much, everyone. Let me go ahead, stop sharing my screen so we can begin the Q&A portion. So before I ask any questions to our panelists, we did receive a question from Trishelle at IVA High School. And the question was, is there a career for people with passion for art in this field? And as I just said earlier, there are a number of positions available to you. In West Basin and WRD specifically, we do have graphic designers that help with the production of collateral, logos, and other printed material for our agencies. So there are a number of opportunities for people with passion for art in this field. So the first question that I'll ask to our panel is for Josie. So we have a question from Charlie at El Camino College. What skills and abilities do you need to become a GIS analyst?
Well, first and foremost, you need to have a basic knowledge of the GIS software program. that's being used for the agency that you'll be working for. And that can be, you can learn that in college at community colleges or at four-year colleges. You can also learn it in certificate programs. So a lot of people will choose a field. So for instance, I'm going to pick on Moises since I work with him. Moises has a degree in geology and has become a hydrogeologist. Moises could go back to school and take a couple of classes in GIS and then begin using GIS as a tool in his work. And actually Moises does use a little bit of it in his work currently. So there's a lot of different ways to learn GIS, but you really need a basic background in the software because it's pretty complex to use. And again, if you're really interested in a specific area, a specific career, and you're not like just want to do GIS, you can study in that field and then learn GIS. It takes basically 2 to 3 classes to get familiar with the software, and then using the software is how you are going to become proficient. So you also want to have skills in Microsoft Office, some basic statistics, things like that.
Great. Thank you very much, Josie. Hope that answered your question, Charlie. And the next question is for Uzi. This question actually came anonymously, but this person wants to know more about the differences between different levels and different types of operator certification.
Absolutely. What's wonderful about the water industry you're hearing today is how diverse it is. From advanced degrees, think of research, PhDs, academia, studying, and then in addition, it's actually still a trade where you can come with a high school diploma, you can enter the field with some courses, and as hard as you want to work, and if you want to study to get your state certifications, you can work your way up and make a very good salary to support your family. So there are a number of different certifications, primarily drinking water or wastewater. West Basin's very unique because we produce recycled water, and we often joke we're a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You can actually have a drinking water or a wastewater certification to start at our treatment plants. And they go from grade level 1 to grade level 5. You can often take a grade level 1 test, especially for drinking water, in either treatment or distribution. You can take that with a high school diploma and passing a test. Sometimes you need one course, and those courses are available at community colleges. They're available online. In fact, Sacramento State University has for years had an amazing online program that allows you to take those courses. And they go up to grade level 5, which does require a degree and quite some time in a treatment plant. But each level you progress is that much more pay, that much more responsibility, and that much more pride for providing your industry with clean, safe, reliable drinking water.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Uzi, for the answer. Our next question is going to be for Jason. This question is from Jessica over at Penn High. Can you just briefly explain the process of water recycling?
Sure. Thanks, Jessica. That's a great question. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time, so I'll try to, I apologize if I butcher the process a little bit, but essentially, recycling is similar to how we recycle paper, right? It's once used for one purpose and we use it for another. So in the process of recycling water, it's actually, we're taking treated sewage water from the city of LA in their Hyperion treatment plant next to LAX. We take a little bit of that, and for our treatment plant in El Segundo, we actually run it through a number of processes, for different particular uses, one for irrigation, one for cooling towers, one for, barrier injection, which is to protect our seawater, our freshwater supply from the seawater. So depending on the process, particularly for irrigation, we'll do something called coagulation and flocculation, which we add a little bit of chemicals to help particles stick together, get heavy enough where they settle to the bottom of the tank, and then we scrape off what's off the top. That's good enough for irrigation. For our more specialized uses, like the cooling towers or boiler feed and the barrier injection, we run that through a process called microfiltration, And essentially that's, if you were to imagine like, drinking water out of a cup with a straw and there's some ice in it. The ice is the solids in the water and the straw is what you're filtering out of, right? So imagine you apply that suction to the straw and then you can kind of filter out water that way. It's a very oversimplified version of it. But so that's microfiltration. And then we also do reverse osmosis, which is a pressure fed pressure vessel where we push the water through a filter and that kind of permeates the membrane that's in there. Again, oversimplified, but if you have any more questions about it, feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy to address your questions then.
Excellent. So in summary, water recycling is a very technical but interesting process. Thank you, Jason. And our next question is for Moises. This question came in anonymously also, but what college do you recommend to a student who would like to pursue a career as a hydrogeologist? Not sure if there's any colleges or maybe specific degrees or programs that you might be able to recommend.
Yeah, so as mentioned, a degree in any physical science will do, but primarily you'd probably want to stick to hydrogeology or geology, just because those also have the potential, similar to an engineer getting a professional engineer license, you can also get a professional geologist and certified hydrogeologist license. So as far as schools that come to mind, local to Southern California, Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Fullerton, UCLA, not only have the curriculum that you'll need to learn, but they also have ongoing research if you decide to pursue, say, graduate research after your undergraduate years. Other schools that come to mind in Greater California is Cal State Bakersfield. They also have their own certificate program. Sacramento State, UC Davis is a great water school. And general US West Coast, the Arizona schools, University of Arizona, Arizona State, University of Nevada, Reno actually has their own hydrologic institute. So those are some schools that come to mind. But again, a Google search will provide more in-depth information, something you'd want to check out if you're looking into this field.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Moises. So if you have any follow-up questions about what colleges are available for someone who's interested in hydrogeology, you can send in another question or email us and we'll get you connected with Moises also. So the next question is going to be for Josie again. This question is from Claudia at Whittier College. And the question is free mapping software like QGIS used or not? And which maps do you create more, static or interactive maps, and why?
So QGIS is an open sourced software. It's free, and it's developed by a group of people who are really into that. And it's continuing to improve in functionality, documentation, and stability. But it's in, especially governmental agencies, they're sticking with Esri, which is, it's kind of, ArcGIS is what I would call the lingua franca or the common language of GIS. It's where a lot of the research is being done, and the company itself puts a lot of money and time and effort into research, developing relationships, customer service, documentation. But a lot of GIS professionals I know will learn QGIS on the side and use it as a complementary program or tool to do their analysis. And I can see that it would also be the software program of choice for maybe small consulting companies or people working individually because it's free. And ArcGIS is actually, it's pretty expensive. So it's definitely, if you're interested in GIS, definitely encourage you to learn it because you can translate what you learn there into using ArcGIS if you get a job doing that. Static or interactive maps and why? I do both. Mostly static maps because most of the maps that I'm making are going into reports or presentations. But we do have currently one interactive mapping application, and I plan to launch a few others in the next year. And we do story maps through our external affairs department, and the maps used in the story maps are, I would call, semi-interactive. You can move them around and turn things on and off. So Mostly static maps though.
Great. Thank you very much, Josie. This next question is for Uzi. This question is from Larry. It's an interesting question. What are the biggest challenges for LA's water development over the long term? And what jobs and positions are working on these solutions? And again, this was for Uzi. Let's see. Uzi, are you able to get back on? Okay, we will come back to Uzi in a couple of moments. And let's move on to the next question, actually, which is going to be for Jason. The question for Jason is, what is the hiring process like for a government agency such as West Basin or the Water Replenishment District?
Sure. It's a great question as well. I'll speak specifically to my scenario. I haven't applied at a lot of different places. I'm very fortunate enough to have my first job at West Basin, but I can tell you a little bit about my experience. So I found the posting actually. I went to Cal State Long Beach just like Moises, and I found the internship posted on our Beach Link website, which is like there's a bunch of like jobs targeted for college students. So I'm pretty sure there's something similar out there for Cal Poly, UCLA, something like that. So take a look at that if you're looking for jobs, and it'll redirect you to a page called Government Jobs. So there's a lot of agencies on there that post. Specifically for water, there's also BC Water Jobs, another website. But essentially, you apply, and then thankfully, in a government agency, all the questions are predefined in the interview process, right? They have a list that they go through, and they give you a score, and you can kind of prep yourself that way if you've done enough interviews for practice, and kind of pull all those together, all that data together, and then present your best self at that interview. But overall, it's pretty straightforward. It's usually with a panel, maybe 3 or so people, and then you'll have a secondary interview afterwards with maybe who you're directly working with. But yeah, pretty straightforward. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jason. And our next question is for Moises from Ivory. And the question is, what type of tests do you run on groundwater?
Yeah, so you've run a variety of tests. Some of them are more conceptual, and these tests will tell you information about the aquifer properties. You could run a pump test and an injection test. The pump test will extract water. An injection test, you'll introduce water into the aquifer. And eventually, through some equations, you'll be able to get some pretty key parameters in hydrogeology, such as transmissivity and hydraulic conductivity, which are pretty much the bread and butter of the aquifer, and again, its properties and how it'll interact. You can also run a variety of tests with water quality, and those cover plenty of things, your basics, your temperature, your pH. You'll also run a general water quality test, TDS, total dissolved solids, which is an indicator of mineral content, conductivity as well. You'll also run water aesthetics, such as color and odor. Again, this is water that can potentially be used by the public if it's a drinking water aquifer. So those are important tests that you'll run. Other tests include metals content, anion, cation content, and specifically with human activity over the years, you do want to look at contaminants of concern. And these can range from a variety of constituents, whether they're volatile organics or non-volatile organics, and stuff of that nature. So there's a variety of laboratory tests that are done in the laboratory that you'll sample in the field and send it over.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Moises. So the last question that I'll be asking before I switch it all over to Monica is for Uzi. And again, this is a repeat from earlier. Hopefully your internet is looking good. So Larry's question is, what are the biggest challenges for LA's water development over the long term? And what are some jobs and positions that are working on these solutions?
Sure. So we all know that probably the biggest challenge is drought, our changing climate, and what that means. And not when we think of our changing climate, I think we often think that's more or less rain. but that has a long-term effect. For example, anyone can drive up to our local mountains right now and see that when you have prolonged drought, it changes the watershed, and your watershed also protects your water quality. As Moses alluded to just now, when we test our groundwater, that all has filtered through our wonderful environment. So the greatest challenge will definitely be in the future how we combat some of these changes. And we don't just think right now, tomorrow, drinking water, we think about long-term solutions. We will start to see, and we are starting to see in Southern California, we're very progressive on the use of recycled water. How do we maybe even drink recycled water in the future? We also need to focus on things like ocean desal. Is that something we want in our communities? Will we need it? Can we use less? So overall, I believe we're gonna have to have a little more vision to think way ahead, maybe even uncomfortably. And I do praise all the youth because I think the younger generations are prepared for this. You guys know about it. You're ready to work and roll your sleeves up on this. And I would say that we just need to think long-term and make sure that, let me be honest with you, we can treat anything, we can get anything out of the water, but what do we do with it? Do we put it in a filter? Where does that filter go? Does the filter go in a landfill and end up back in your groundwater? Do we put it in an incinerator and ends in our water? So if there's one thing I can recommend today is anyone working on careers in innovation that can come up with ideas to prevent things from even being there that we have to treat. We call that source control, source reduction. That's really going to be our future, making sure we just have alternatives so we don't need to put this stuff in our environment, and then it'll be better for all of us.
Excellent answer, Uzi. Thank you very much. And we're glad to have you back online. And I will hand it back off to Monica to conclude the rest of our panel.
Thank you, Janelle. Those were some great questions. So I will continue. GIS question from Larry to Josie. Are typical GIS jobs at water districts only requiring one GIS staffer, or are there multiple GIS positions? Are there upward mobility options for the future? Josie?
Well, it really depends on the size of the agency. WRD and West Basin are smaller agencies, just basically smaller staff levels. So at WRD, currently there's only one GIS position. I can see in the future that there may be room for growth there. And I believe West Basin has one GIS person or are using a consulting company to do GIS. But if you go to some of the larger water agencies, for instance, Orange County Water District, they have multiple GIS positions. And within that, the GIS department, they will have different levels. So Orange County Water District, for instance, might be a great place to get an entry-level job and have the ability to move up to, for instance, a GIS administrator position. So yeah, it really depends on the size of the agency and their need. So as with most things.
Thank you so much, Josie. Next question from an anonymous attendee for Moises. If you have a BA in environmental science, where would you recommend to intern or look for an entry-level job to get experience in hydrogeology specifically?
So I would definitely recommend interning as early as possible, as soon as you have the opportunity in your college years. I would shoot for, doing a Google search again will give you a big idea of what's available out there. But as an environmental scientist in your case, I would try the private sector, give that a shot. Environmental consulting provides a wide variety of services related to water, soil, and air cleanup. That'll provide you a breadth of knowledge, a breadth of hands-on information that's really, really pertinent, because let's say you were to move on to a water agency down the road, you're gonna be using a lot of those concepts day to day. So especially in your case as an environmental scientist, I would search for an environmental consulting company. And I could provide Monica and Janelle a couple of links. If you're interested, and maybe they could send that out after this.
Thank you, Moises. And we would definitely provide those links if Moises provides them to us. We have another question for Josie from Dennis, representing Lawndale High School's Marine Science Academy. How exciting. So Josie, is GIS something that is pertinent to ocean mapping?
Definitely. And that's a really exciting area of GIS. There's so many different things. It's not only the ocean floor, for instance, which is bathymetric data versus topographic data, which is on land, but you can map ocean currents, ocean temperature, and those things can affect the weather. You can map sea life, be it vegetative or animals, sea animals. Just so many different things that you can do out there on the ocean. And just an FYI, I know you're asking specifically about the ocean, but they're already mapping the planets, the other planets as well, Mars and the moon specifically. I know there's been a lot of work there. So lots of different places to map.
Thank you, Josie. Our next question is for Uzi. From Haid Del Cid. He said, hello, I believe the first person on the panel mentioned a groundwater replenishment project in Carson. Is that the joint project at the joint water, the JWPCP between Orange County, Riverside, MWD, and others?
So the project we have, and that's what's unique about having both West Basin and WRD on here. West Basin's located in Carson, but the groundwater replenishment project, or what we call the seawater barrier, actually goes all the way, if you can imagine, from LAX to Palos Verdes, over 157 injection wells, and that injects recycled water back into our aquifers, advanced treated water that goes through an extensive amount of treatment to guarantee it's stripped of everything. That goes into the aquifers. That is where our projects are. Again, we are water districts in specific areas. When you're looking at things such as in the area, different county, Riverside, that would be managed by a different agency. We have a lot of contacts for people out there. And we'll get into some associations later, because being a part of some of those associations, for students, they offer free, often attendance at conferences when we start having them again. That's where you can meet people from different regions. And in Riverside, they do a lot more spreading. They don't do direct injection, but they spread recycled water and allow that to percolate in the ground. Hopefully that answered your question. I'm happy to give more resources, as is WRD offline.
Thank you, Uzi. That was a great answer. We have a few minutes for maybe two more questions. This question is for Josie. What makes a map a good map compared to a bad map? From Claudia.
Hi, Claudia. Thanks for asking that question. So the purpose of a map is to convey information or tell a story. And a good one is one that the map reader can quickly and easily understand the message that is important and that you're trying to convey to the audience. So more often than not, simplicity is the key. Leave off things that don't contribute to the information that you're trying to portray, and make sure that you use things like symbology, colors, fonts, labeling. Make sure they're clear, that you can see what they, like for instance, with a label, what does a label go to? Is it for a well or is it for a river? That kind of thing. And then also a clean layout of your map. And when we talk about the layout, we're talking about, the actual map, and then the other map elements that go with it, the scale bar, north arrow, legend, title, all of those things. You don't want it to be over simple, but you don't want to have so much information that a reader can't understand what they're looking at.
Thank you, Josie. Our next question is for Jason. Jason, is there a position for someone with a Bachelor of Architecture?
That's a great question. At our district in particular, we don't specify a job specifically for a bachelor in architecture, but it doesn't mean that you don't have the skills necessary to apply. In architecture, you learn not just about design and using your creativity to erect a building that's pleasing to look at, right? But also you're focusing on whether or not that building can stand structurally. You're focusing on building mechanics, the plumbing inside, the electrical. And you will be very well versed in reading drawings and plans, right? So those are skills that you can apply to other disciplines as well. For me particularly, I study mechanical engineering, and there aren't a lot of other mechanical engineers at our district. There's mostly civil engineers or environmental engineers. So I'm a little bit of the odd one out, but I still learned the same basic physics principles that are applied to the world around us. So it doesn't mean that you aren't qualified for the job. So definitely look out there and be flexible.
Thank you, Jason. Our next question is for Uzi, and this is from Haid. My name is Haid Del Cid. I have 10 years as a wastewater operator. I have a grade 2 wastewater, grade 1 water treatment, and grade 1 distribution. I want to be a good overall operator, hands-on systems operation, and training new operators. Anything you would recommend or any jobs you know? I am currently working on my Associates of Science in Wastewater and Water Technology at LATCC.
Fabulous, and that's great to hear. That's a lot of qualifications. We will have this a little bit later on, I think, in the slide presentation. But I think what's great, there is a good resource called BC Jobs. You guys can look it up online, and they have weekly announcements of different job opportunities. Also, if you're already at a college, and I know there are some instructors here on this actual call and webinar, you could look into internship programs. For those of you who are lucky enough to be able to afford to do sometimes free internships, of course, those seem readily available, but even just getting your foot in the door is fabulous. There are a lot of opportunities, especially if you're willing to go around the state or country. There are still opportunities. There is going to be a great need in the next few years as people start to retire. And I would just encourage you, even say, if you really want to be in wastewater, but you see a drinking water opportunity, I would really encourage people just to get your foot in the door, because once you're in an agency, you really do get connected. And if you can attend some of the association conferences or some of their even one-day symposiums, that's again where you meet people from other agencies, get involved, get engaged with their committees, and that's where all connections are made, and that's your kind of your step up, your ladder towards progression.
Thank you, Uzi. We have time for one more question. This question is for Josie. Do you sometimes have to tailor GIS maps differently? For example, for colorblind people?
Definitely. And it's hard sometimes to tailor a map to, for everybody, but there are certain color combinations that are better for colorblind people. There is an app online, and now I can't remember the name of it, Color Brewer. And she actually has, it's a professor who's done a lot of research into color, and she has suggested colors for color blindness. Another type of tailoring of a map would be for, sorry, my phone is ringing, it distracted me, would be sometimes you want to make a map in black and white or gray scale, because the end result, like people might be printing a map in black and white and then they can't see the colors. So you have to use a combination of gray tones and maybe patterns to depict different things on your map. So definitely that's one of the things that you would learn how to do in a cartography class, which I would also recommend alongside GIS classes.
Thank you, Josie. Thank you to all the panelists who answered all the questions and all the questions that came in. They were all great questions. And I know the panelists had a really enjoyed answering those questions. So according to the U.S. Department of Labor Occupational Outlook Handbook for the 2016-17 edition, the water industry will require 7,000 new water and wastewater operators from the years 2014 to 2024 as the current workforce ages and retires. Now that you have had a glimpse of a few water industry careers, we encourage you to do your own research and hopefully create a path to a fulfilling career in the water industry. To begin your search, be sure to check local professional organizations focused on minority groups or specific disciplines. Sanitation, special districts, various levels of professional organizations. Many of these organizations offer free or reduced membership costs for students and offer a lot of free training and networking events. If you'd like to learn more about the careers you just heard in the webinar, American Water Works Association and the California Water Environment Association is a great place to start if you're looking into the career of a hydrogeologist. For a GI analyst, definitely looking into ESRI, which is Environmental Systems Research Institute. And if you're looking into becoming a water operator, we would definitely encourage you to look at the State Water Resources Control Board. They are the organization that certifies individuals for operation positions. And here on your screen now, you see a list of a few scholarships to help you either get started or continue your path in the water industry. These are all for certificates or bachelors in water-related fields, such as engineering. There are a number of scholarships all available on the AWWA website.
Excellent. Thank you, Monica. So I'll continue and discuss internships and training programs. And for students who are interested in the water industry, it is never too early to get involved. For high school students, I recommend you get involved with local environmental organizations or science-related clubs that will help make you a competitive candidate. This will help you get into internships, fellowships, training programs offered by these organizations that you see on screen right now. West Basin and the WRD also offer internships for college-age students as early as community college. So I recommend you check out our websites after the pandemic for more information. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power and the Metropolitan Water District, both in the LA County, also offer a lot of training programs. But if you want a broader look at positions you could get, I recommend you all check out BC Water Jobs or Water District Jobs online. Again, I believe Jason and Uzi mentioned it earlier, but you can check those websites to see if there are any internships or part-time jobs open to you in your area. And again, it's not too late to make these decisions to set yourself up for a successful water industry career. These 4 colleges in LA and Orange County offer programs in water technology and distribution, and will give you the proper training to pursue certificate or operator positions specifically in water. And please note that these programs are for people who would like to enter the workforce immediately, either after getting a certificate or a 2-year associate's degree. You can also attend any college and get training in environmental sciences, engineering, accounting, communications, and that would give you the proper training for any of those positions in a water agency or a water company such as West Basin or WRD. And again, with 1/3 of the water industry workforce eligible to retire within 10 years, there is a huge need for all of you to enter these positions as you consider your various career paths. And remember that there are so many different operator positions and options in the water industry that can support a wide variety of skills. So we hope that through this panel, you will become empowered with the information and knowledge to continue your pursuit in a fulfilling water career. So that concludes our panel and our webinar this morning. I wanted to say thank you everyone for participating and sending in your questions. A huge thank you to our 4 panelists for taking the time out of their day to give some insight to everyone today. As a reminder, if you want a thank you gift mailed to you and to be entered in the opportunity drawing for prizes, please make sure to submit the short survey that will pop up when you exit this webinar. I also want to add that both of our agencies offer a number of education programs for school-age students. So again, check out our websites or email myself and Monica at our addresses listed on the screen right now. And Monica, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Thank you again for joining us. We hope to continue partnering with agencies such as West Basin to make these programs available to you. We look forward to hearing your feedback or any other questions that you might have. Thank you to everyone for attending.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. We can also invite our panelists back on just to show their face again and say goodbye. Thank you, everyone, so much for your time. And we hope you have a good rest of your day and a good California shakeout today. Be safe all.
Thank you.